Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. And today guys, I want to go ahead and welcome y'all to Conspiracy Theory Week. And this is the very first time we do this on my channel. I really wanted to give y'all the best week I could possibly give y'all after being gone for so long. Guys, let's just go ahead and get right into it. So let's cue the music. So today guys, we're going to talk about someone that is everywhere. And that is Mickey Mouse, Walt Disney. Now, as we all know, Walt Disney, they have so many theories, so many conspiracies surrounding Walt Disney. And as we know, Walt Disney, guys, is this huge, big corporate thing that became a success overnight. And that is because Walt Disney is everywhere now. With Disney Plus, movies coming out every single time. And there's just, you turn around and you see Mickey Mouse every single place you go. But of course guys, I'm sure y'all have heard of the story where Walt Disney, before his death, he decided that he wanted to be frozen off. And with that whole conspiracy coming out and everybody having to Google it, and the first thing that you would see would be Walt Disney frozen, the corporation actually became a huge success for having that up there, and they decided that they would create a movie that made millions for them. When we talk about the millions that it made, they even went ahead and made a second movie out of it. They even have the whole conspiracy of the underground tunnels that they have for the cast members and employees at Walt Disney Resorts and Walt Disney itself. But today, we're gonna focus mainly on the actual Walt Disney Park.
It's a carousel of color. Wonderful, wonderful color. Walt Disney presents The Wonderful World of Color. And now your host, Walt Disney. This is not Santa's workshop. It's just one section of a creative world where new attractions for Disneyland are conceived. Now, a great deal of time, sweat, and a few tears were expended on all this, but there's a lot of satisfaction in developing ideas into realities which become a part of Disneyland. Now, we've just finished the first year of our second decade. It was a big year for the opening of many new attractions. Since they were opened, 7 million people have enjoyed them. So we'd like for you to see and enjoy them too.
I went and looked for some of the most amazing things I could find, conspiracies, stories, something that I could come here and tell you that could be possibly new to you. And if you have heard it before, hopefully there's a whole different view towards you. But the first one I want to talk to you about, guys, is ashes, and in particular your loved one's ashes. Now, as we all know, you get your loved one's ashes and you go out there and spread them around, whether it's at the park, the ocean, a soccer field, football field, somewhere where the person actually loved to be at. In this case, as we all know, people love to be in the most happiest place. And what most happiest place is there other than Walt Disney? So a lot of people love to get their ashes spread at Walt Disney. And with that, Walt Disney decided that they would create a whole training for the cast members and for all the employees in case they saw this happening. And like I said, all the employees are trained and they're certified on how to handle things like this. So basically, if they see a guest walking around and spreading their ashes, they kindly tell them not to do that. They escort them out the park and they try to make them understand why they don't do that. But the worst part of this, guys, and especially for me, I would think it's the worst part, and that's because whenever the guest leaves, they think their ashes remains there, but it actually doesn't, because the person that they have the person out comes right behind them and cleans everything. They just scoop it up and throw it in the trash. And so instead of your loved one's ashes actually being in the park, they actually get thrown in the trash. And they don't really end up in the most happiest place. So guys, if you're thinking about really throwing your ashes in Walt Disney, either don't let the employees see you, or actually maybe try another place perhaps. Now this next story that we're going to talk about, guys, is of a cast member, and in particular we're going to talk about the Tower of Terror. Now, a lot of y'all have heard of the Tower of Terror. Now, there is a legend or rumor about this attraction, and that is the legend of a cast member / employee actually dying in Tower of Terror. What happened is that as he was loading a guest into the ride, he actually ended up having a stroke and dying right there. And as the paramedics got there to try to revive him, they couldn't really do anything. And so the rumor of the story goes that the person ended up dying there. And the place that he actually died in was Platform D. And that is where a lot of people, even guests and employees, actually say that that's the part where there is the most activity or ghost activity going on. And even have pictures such as this one, or even they have video of a shadow or something. And even employees now hate going on Platform D. They hate it, and if they have to be up there, they do everything quickly and then they come right back down, because they really don't like to be up there, because they have this bad feeling of someone watching them. Now, of course, we can't go on without talking about Walt Disney Parks without actually talking about its creator, and that is Walt Disney. And with that, guys, Walt Disney became this huge success overnight, right? The parks, many parks that he created, and some are even abandoned now, right? And a lot of people haven't heard about that. The very first time he opened the park wasn't actually a very successful day for him. And that is because whenever he first decided to open up the park, he decided that he was going to have tickets for family, friends, co-workers, employees that he had just hired, and of course construction crew members and media people. Now, when he decided to do all this, he handed out the 6,000 tickets that he had for everybody. And as he spread them out, he made one big mistake, and that is of verifying the tickets. And of course, as we know, we have to verify the tickets now, because of course people can go out there, make a copy of them, print them out, and somehow hand out more tickets than what there actually can only be. And that is the biggest mistake that Walt Disney did the very first time he opened up his doors of the park to the people. And what happened, guys, is that 4 times the amount, to be exact, 28,000 people got inside this park instead of the only 6,000 that had originally a ticket. So when those 28,000 people got in there, as y'all know, it was chaotic, and it was one of the worst days for the park and for Walt Disney. And that is because when the park opened up and people started coming in, the park quickly became a mess. The parking spots were all filled up. The lines just to get inside the park were long. Don't even mention the rides. And of course, food, guys. Food that was essential to last throughout the whole day actually only lasted about an hour or two. And like I said, this just became one of the worst days for Walt Disney itself. And the park, really, because can you imagine how people were upset at not eating, how people were upset that the lines were long. And so Walt Disney quickly became one of the worst places to go to, and that is because of this. Now, of course, nowadays they have e-verifiers, tickets are verified and stuff, and so now they have more of a handling situation towards how many people can actually go into the park. Now, the next story that I want to talk to you about is about one certain attraction, and that is the Haunted Mansion. Now, the Haunted Mansion is, of course, based on the movie. Whenever they did the attraction, they brought in all the props and everything. They brought a very important prop, and that is they decided that they would bring a 14th century seance book. Now, when they bought this seance book, they decided that they were going to put it on a pedestal. And when they put it on the pedestal, they really didn't think of it much. Weeks went by without anything happen. But afterwards, employees started noticing something weird. And that is that employees started to notice that the book would either be upside down, on the floor, real far away from the actual pedestal, or even be flipped on a page that it wasn't left there the previous day. And everybody thought it was a big prank from maybe one of the employees that worked there, but apparently no one was doing anything, and the whole book was just in a certain weird place every single time. They either came in to work or when they came back from lunch. And so employees there decided that instead of having that actual seance book from the 14th century, they were gonna go ahead and just place a replica. And that is now what you see if you decide to go into the Haunted Mansion attraction. That is what you will see instead of the real seance book. Now apparently the real seance book is still there, but it's actually in one of the storage rooms that they have in Walt Disney. Now this next story, guys, that we're going to talk about is actually a pretty interesting one to me, and that is because of a supposedly ghost that is said to haunt a very important attraction at the park, and that is the attraction of the Pirates of the Caribbean. Now the Pirates of the Caribbean is actually this very famous attraction at Walt Disney. A lot of people enjoy going to it, and this attraction, guys, is really famous, but like I said, it has a ghost in it. And that is because a lot of employees actually think that it is very important for them to go in there and say, "Good morning, George," or "How are you, George?" when they come in, or even when they decide to leave and go home for the night, they have to tell them, "Good night, George." And that is because when employees don't say that, something bad tends to happen. And the whole day just becomes this chaotic day. The ride doesn't work. The whole attraction just shuts down and is just a big mess throughout the whole day. So the employees have now learned that every morning when they come in, they really have to say, "Good morning, George." And that is to really show the presence some type of respect towards him, and so that they could have a very nice day for this attraction. Now this next conspiracy that I want to talk to you about, guys, I think for me it's one of the most craziest one of all, and that is because we're going to talk about something that Walt Disney wanted to create, and that is of a famous club that Walt Disney wanted to put in every single one of his resorts and every single one of his parks that he created. And that is of a club called Club 33. Now this whole club that Walt Disney wanted to create was, of course, for very private people. Now it is said with this conspiracy and with this theory that Walt Disney actually created it for the Illuminati. Now of course we all know that Walt Disney, being one of the most richest persons out there, he was or had to be linked to the Illuminati. But one of the things, like I said, is that he decided he wanted to create this very, very private club, but he ended up never actually making it to see it happen. And that is because before his death, nothing actually got said and done. But after his death, whenever everything started to run smoothly again after his death, the club actually became a thing. And that is, they created the club and they named it Club 33 after Walt Disney. And it is very private for people to go in there. Not a lot of people can say they've gone in there or can even go in there. And so that is why the theory behind it is that the Illuminati and everybody in it has very important meetings inside this club. And the hardest part about this, to get into this club, guys, you literally have to pay a $25,000 initiation fee. Very little, right? Very little initiation fee for you to get into. And of course, there's a $12,000 fee every month for you to remain inside this club. Now, to say one of the hardest things is there has to be a waiting period. Now this waiting period, guys, it's not 5 years, it's not 2, it's actually 15 years. There's actually a 15-year waiting period for you to be able to be part of this famous Club 33. So it is very, very private, and that's why a lot of people say that this club is actually part of the Illuminati. Now, one of the things that I do seem to find a little bit off is the whole thing behind the way they made it. And that is because Walt Disney had this big imagination that he wanted to actually have some type of sprays to go on throughout the whole park that reminded people of their childhood. And not only their childhood, but actually reminded them that they wanted cotton candy, they wanted candies, and they just brought back memories from when you were a child. And it made people want to come to the park more and more and more. And that's exactly what they did. And on top of that, they decided that they were gonna go ahead and create certain colors for certain buildings that they didn't want the people to notice. And that is, he created a color called Senum Green and Senum Gray. Now apparently Senum Green and Senum Gray, and that is just the colors gray and green, and he wanted his buildings, such as the trash cans buildings, maintenance buildings, and he wanted them that certain color so that people wouldn't notice them that they were there when they were walking around the park. And once again, that is why a lot of people think that this is really part of the Illuminati and where they have their meetings, because it isn't the first time, of course, that Walt Disney really shows something to do with the Illuminati. And that's because there's been movies where, or even shows where you see the word Illuminati, such as this one. Now, of course, guys, we've all heard about stories of people, actually guests, dying inside Walt Disney parks or resorts and having to die because they fell on their head after falling from an amusement ride, or, you know, having some type of heart attack. But actually, in reality, there isn't actually any evidence of that actually happening. But there is a story, and this is one of the last things that I do want to talk to y'all about, is there's a story of a guest that went to the park. And this story, guys, that I'm going to talk to y'all about is about a guest that decided that she was going to go into the ride It's a Small World. Now the story goes a little bit like this, guys. In 1999, we visited Disneyland and we decided we would go on the ride It's a Small World. I was 12 at the time and my sister was 6. At one time, near the end of the ride, the lights suddenly turned off and green and red lights came on. Everything was shut off and employees in red overalls came to help us get off the ride. As we were leaving, the intercom said, "Walt Disney thanks you for your visit. Please exit and look forward at all times and follow directions from the crew members." As I came outside, there was an ambulance and cops parked outside. My mom, still inside, had a camera and she still had roll and decided she would take a last minute photo of this attraction. But this was the last photo she took towards the ceiling. Now this photo that I'm about to show y'all, guys, it is a very explicit photo and it does have a bit of a viewer discretion advice because of the fact that it is explicit. I'm gonna go ahead and show it to y'all, guys, but like I said, once again, viewer discretion is advised, and just take a look at the photo. And really, if you don't want to take a look at it, you don't have to, but like I said, this picture is a bit weird, so here it is. Now, when this photo came out, guys, Walt Disney Corporation actually came out with a statement saying that it was just an animatronic that was actually at the very top, and it looked like something that people would think could be actually a person up there. And for a lot of people it kind of made sense, but a lot of people still claim that it was actually something different than what Walt Disney actually claims for it to be. And for me, it really does not look like an animatronic up there. I mean, it could possibly be. I've never gone inside Walt Disney, but I really do think that it could possibly be what everybody else thinks. Now, of course, like I said, it is a very weird and crazy picture of something that's up there. So, I mean, let me know down in the comments, guys, what you think. And of course, tell me whether you think it's an actual animatronic or something else. Well, there you have it, guys. And this were some of the stories, conspiracies, and even theories of Walt Disney parks. And with that, guys, like I said, I hope that these are some stories that you have never heard. And if you have, hopefully they were told a little bit different to where maybe you got something else out of it. And like I said, guys, definitely it is something pretty cool that I found, and I had the chance to actually dig in there a little bit deeper than other videos that I've done conspiracy wise. And I hope that you really enjoyed this video, guys. Like I said, we're going to continue doing conspiracy theory videos, guys. Next one comes out tomorrow at 5, so stay tuned for that, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Definitely subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bells, and don't miss the next videos coming up, guys, because they're just going to keep getting more interesting and interesting. Thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you next time.